All right, buckle in, because I'm warning you now, this is gonna be a long one. So, yeah, let's do it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Study Knits. My name is Allie. If you're new here, I'm a fourth year medical student and I'm currently living in the US. I kind of have been hopping around my entire fourth year of med school, staying with different people. Right now, I'm back in New York with my friend, filming in her absolutely gorgeous apartment. I love staying here because I like hanging out with my friend, and I love filming here because it's so pretty. I also think I'm getting some kind of cold or something, so if my voice sounds weird, that's why. I'm sorry if it's annoying. I filmed some test videos to make sure the sound and everything was working, and I thought my mic was working and was doing weird stuff with the sound, and then I realized that's just my voice and how I sound right now. So sorry about that. I haven't recorded a video in a while. I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks since I recorded a podcast. I've had a lot going on. Interviews for residency started. So I've been doing a lot of sitting in a camera and talking, and just holiday planning, and the election, all that happened too. There's just been a lot of little stressors going on in my life, and I would sit down and have some free time, and I didn't want to record something. I just wanted to knit. So now I felt like recording, so we're doing it today. I have a lot to go through. I don't even know how many finished objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 finished objects. I'm wearing one of them right now. We'll get to it later. 5 finished objects, 2 whips, and a lot of acquisitions. Because if you watched my fall knitting plans video, since I don't really live anywhere, I ship all of my packages to my friend's apartment here because she lives in a locked building. So I know they won't get stolen. So when I got here a couple of weeks ago, I had all of my knitting packages waiting for me. So we have a lot of acquisitions to get through. Okay, starting off first, this is the Sleeve Vibes Bolero by Sachiko Bergen. I knit this using Lana Arwetta in the color black. I used a 4mm needle to make this, and I used 3.5mm for the cuff. I used just over 2 skeins for this. This is the size 2. However, I got a little lost when I was doing the raglan increases, and I accidentally did an extra set of raglan increases. So this is more like a size 2.5. I enjoyed making this. This is a gift knit for my boyfriend's oldest sister. It's this cool bolero. I haven't blocked it yet. And I feel like can't get a good idea of what the shaping is, what it looks like, because it's black, and I'm not going to put it on because it's just simply not going to fit me. But you can see there's quite a bit of shaping. I think you guys can tell. I enjoyed making this. I made so many mistakes while making this. So many mistakes because this yarn was just so dark, and I was knitting on it a lot at night, and if we're being honest, was just being careless for whatever reason while making this. I worked an extra set of raglan increases a lot. I don't think I ended up doing the oh my god, that's just a hole. There's just a big hole. So they use wrap and turns for the short rows, which I have never used before, and I decided to just follow the pattern. Why would I use a German short row and I could just use the wrap and turn? And I definitely went on the wrong side. I don't think I did them right because it doesn't look very good. Granted, this has not been blocked at all, so it just looks overall just looks unfinished because I haven't blocked it yet. I also messed up. I messed up the wrap and turns. I did an extra raglan increase. I worked the sleeve. I did weird not following the pattern when picking up for the first sleeve and picking up the underarm stitches for the first sleeve. I forgot what I did for the second, when I came time to make the second sleeve. So then I had to count the number of stitches. I ended up doing this one wrong and had to redo this sleeve. But overall, they look the same. Yeah, it took me about 2 weeks to make this, and I'm not a monogamous knitter, so I was working on other things at the same time. This is my first bolero I've ever made. I never really knew what a bolero was until I made this. Never really thought I would want to wear a bolero, but the amount of times since like making this that I've wanted to make a bolero. I've just wanted a bolero to pull on over like a t-shirt or like a top or whatever. It's crazy. So I think at some point I will make myself a bolero. I don't know that I'll do this pattern. This pattern definitely is not my personal style, but there's a couple of oversized, kind of chunky looking ones that I'm definitely interested in. So overall, really enjoyed the bolero, even though it's pretty much just all sleeves. I still enjoyed making it, and I would definitely make another one for myself. Overall, with this pattern, honestly, I finished this like a full month ago, so I can't really remember, which is shame on me. But the pattern was easy to follow. Um, I enjoyed it. A lot of like detailed measurements, a lot of good details. I don't think I was ever confused. This is the first pattern I've made from this designer and loved it. Would definitely purchase patterns from her again. So overall, very happy with this. TBD on how the fit is going to be on the person that I've made this for. So I can't really speak to that. I'll have to wait for her to try it on. I do have some yarn in the stash to make like an Oslo hat. So if this doesn't fit, I'll just crank out an Oslo hat and she will get that instead instead of this. Or maybe I'll just remake it at some point because I do have a third of a skein left of this. So I could definitely make another, like use this yarn, make another one if that needs to be the case. But anyways, sleeve vibes overall, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Okay, moving on. This, oh my gosh, you guys aren't going to believe it. Do you guys know what this is? This is a finished, I repeat, finished Rift sweater. I finished it. The Rift sweater by Jared Flood from Brooklyn Tweed. I knit this for my boyfriend. I used Hip Knit Shop Pop Merino in the color Milk and Cookies. I ended up using just under 11 skeins. I bought 12 for this project, so I have about one skein left over. I used a 5mm needle to make this. I believe the pattern calls for a 4.5mm needle. I felt like I liked the texture of everything with the 5mm needle. This is bottom up and seamed. If you've watched any podcast where I've talked about this before, I've walked through the whole story. I'm not going to do it again for time's sake, but I definitely talk about it in the podcast before this one. I don't even know what number the podcast this is. But I talk about it in the podcast before this one, but basically, long story short, I made the size too small and remade it after already making a lot of mistakes the first time. So this is my second time making this. Because I bought yarn for the size smaller than this. What size is this? 47.25 inches, which I guess is like the medium size. Because I bought yarn for the size smaller, I ran out of yarn while making this. And I got to about here on the sleeve. I probably needed like a quarter of a skein or maybe like a whole skein, half. I don't even know. I was like probably here on one of the sleeves when I ran out of yarn. Really, really sad. I was so upset because I was on a roll. I was ready to finish this. This has been on my needles for over a year. And I ran out of yarn. I was like, ugh. But I kind of held it up. I tried it on the body before I seamed the sleeves on. I tried it on myself and then FaceTime my boyfriend because we're long distance. And it was really, really long. It was really, really long on me. And I knew, and he knew too, when I tried it on, that it was going to be way too long for him. And I was like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Like, you could try it on, you could end up liking the length, whatever. So instead of buying another skein of yarn, I did some sweater surgery. It looks all right. But I think you can definitely tell. I have not blocked it yet. I'm hoping it blocks out. I basically just sweater surgeryed here, took off probably like this much. I took off a lot of length. I did do like Kitchener grafting, and I tried to do it on the ribbing there. It kind of like half worked, it half didn't work. But at the end of the day, I think that's kind of only something I would notice. Then, so I did that, finished the sleeve, seamed it all together. And then I tried it on, and then I was like, oh, these sleeves are a little long. Then my boyfriend came to visit me here in New York 2 weekends ago, and I had him try it on, and the sleeves were way too long. So I did more sweater surgery, took off probably about like 6 centimeters of sleeve length, and then grafted them back together. He has not tried it on since the second round of grafting, the second surgery. He has not tried it on since then. Actually, neither have I, but now's not the time. I don't have time for that. So hoping it works. I will give this to him next week, and if he likes it and there are no more modifications that need to be made, this will be his, and it will be fully finished, and I will never have to think about knitting it again. Okay, hello guys, it's Allie from the future. I'm sitting down to edit this, and I'm back in Alabama, if you can't tell as I'm editing this. I did give my boyfriend the rift sweater. It fits him perfectly. He loves it, and I blocked it and trimmed the ends, and it's all tied up in a nice bow. Just felt like I wanted to include that happy ending to that. Just a couple of notes on this pattern. I think the pattern is great, okay? Instructions are good, never confused. The construction is fine. I personally don't like a bottom-up sweater for all of the reasons that I've just listed. The sense that the body was too long, the sleeves were too long. Yeah, the body's too long, sleeves too long. That's really hard to adjust when you're doing a bottom-up. But overall, I think the details, like the sleeve details here, are gorgeous. You can see the underarm details are gorgeous. This is like this is a gorgeous pattern. I love the rolled neck. Yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful sweater. I'm very, very proud of the work. I'm very, very proud of the work that I did. And before I did the second round of surgery, when I finished it and I seamed the top together, or I like seamed the shoulders together and like held it up and looked at it, I did shed tears, because this has been, I've been like so many hours of work, so much stress, not like stress, but just a lot of like looking at it, not really wanting to make it, but I wanted to see this through. I think if this had been for me, I maybe would have given up, but I was like, I want to see this through. I don't want to quit on this. And I did it. So I'm really proud that I finished it after all this time. It was very technically challenging. A lot of new techniques that I haven't done before, a lot of like weird decreases, a lot of like counting stitches, a lot of doing my due diligence, making sure I'm really following the pattern and sticking with it. And like a lot of attention to detail is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And I usually am, I don't like seaming, and I feel like I did a really, really good job seaming this. Not to like toot my own horn, but I feel like the seams look good. The lines are crisp. Like the seaming, I feel like I did a good job with that. So I'm really proud. Overall, really, really, really happy with how this turned out. I really like the way it looks. So I think we're gonna call it a day on that. So happy to have this done. I cannot tell you guys how happy I am to have this done. Next up, we have it's just another Oslo hat. Truly nothing to say. I believe this is my 11th Oslo hat. My 11th regular Oslo hat. I don't know about the mohairs, but this is the size large. I used lana Arwetta in the color camel, held double. I used a 3.5 millimeter needle. How many grams did I use? I used about 130 grams. So a little over 2.5 skeins to make this. This is for my college friend that I'm staying with, her boyfriend that also lives here, as a thank you for letting me squat. So I literally just finished blocking like this morning. It's gorgeous. Oslo hat pattern by Petite Knit. I don't need to keep talking about it. I love Oslo hats. Super easy. Took me like 3 days to make this. Yes, so happy to give this to him. Another Petite Knit accessory. I'm so excited about this. These are the penny gloves by Petite Knit. I wanted to make these for quite some time. These are, fingerless gloves. They have this cool, it's not like cool, it's just like, it is what it is. Just like a round of purling before you bind off that gives it a little bit of a flare. I knit these. These are only, this is a one size pattern, so I just knit the one size that there is. I used lana Arwetta in the color Deep Mahogany. How much did I use? I used a little over half a skein for it, about 27 grams. And I held it with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Claret. And I used a little less than a skein. The meterage doesn't match between the two, so I have no idea. I have no idea how much I actually used. But I made these for my friend that I'm staying here with as a partial thank you for letting me squat here. And then it was also her birthday last week. So I gave her these, and then I also bought her a really cool coat off of Etsy that kind of matches these. But I will try these on for you guys because I feel like they're so... I absolutely love these. I have another pair on the needles for me because I've been wearing them for a while. I just worked 9 centimeters before starting increases for the thumb, which is a little bit less than what the pattern calls for. Honestly, I feel like I could do even less. I would say next time I do less, but I'm already past this point on the ones that I made for myself. Yeah, I would maybe even do like a centimeter or 2 less because I feel like this is really, really, really long, and I wear like bracelets and watches, and so it's kind of clunky. But yeah, these also literally just finished blocking. Like I took them off the blocking mats. These were so speedy to make. I made one of these, took me like 3 hours. So total, this was probably like a 6-hour project. I also don't really consider myself to be a process knitter. I'm very much just focused on the finished object, and I really just want the finished object. I enjoy the road that gets me to the finished object. All that to say, with this, I don't know that I've ever enjoyed like a yarn and needle combination quite like I enjoyed this. The lana Arwetta, the soft silk mohair from Knitting for Olive on the 2.5 millimeter needle. Like, I just feel like it was so like satisfying to knit on. I used my Chow Goose. The most satisfying thing to work on, just the way it like felt on the needles, the way it like worked up. It's the most satisfying texture too. Like, I love this yarn combo. Like, we'll be making many more penny gloves and many more like accessories and things using the same like weight in the same combination. Like, I honestly, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it's like the most satisfying thing. And it's so soft too. They're so soft. Last finished object I am wearing. This is the Lana vest by Irene Lynn. I did a project vlog about this, so I won't talk too much about this because there's going to be a whole vlog about it. But this, I absolutely love this. I think I'm going to insert some B-roll instead of me standing up and showing you. It is stunning. A split hem, so many wonderful details. Like, there's little like underarm. I love it. I love it so much. For whatever reason, I haven't used acrylic yarn like since I first started knitting, like my first year of knitting, and I decided to use acrylic yarn for this. I don't really know why, but this is the Lion brand Pound of Love in the color Antique White. I unfortunately ran out of yarn, and my options were to either rip back the cables and just make it a little shorter, and then keep my fingers crossed that I would have enough yarn, or go buy more yarn. I mean, luckily, since it was acrylic and I bought it from Michael's, I just went to Michael's and found more. The downside is it is called Pound of Love. It is a full pound of yarn. So I have this much left over, which is a bummer because I was really excited. This was taking up a lot of space in my stash. So I was so excited to get rid of it, bought more. Luckily, my friend that I'm staying with here, I did kind of convince her to start knitting. So I've been teaching her how to knit, and so I'm just going to leave this here with her, and she can hopefully use it and to continue her knitting journey, because I really do not want to carry this around with me. This also just finished blocking. I just finished this weekend. I'm planning on wearing it to an event this weekend, weather permitting. It's in the South, and the weather this time of year in the South can be, it can either be like 40 degrees or it can be like 80 degrees. There's really no saying. It's supposed to be, it sounds like, as of right now, it's supposed to be in the 50s, so I'm hoping I can wear this, because I did knit it with this event kind of in mind. But I love this. I just tried this on after blocking for the first time, like before filming this. And I put it on, and when you like put a garment on that you just finished and you're like, yeah, this is going to be a staple. Like this is nice. I just put it on and I was like, I love everything about this. I love the fit. It's mad oversized. I just feel like the drape is wonderful, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's perfect. I don't want to say it was easy. It required, right, a lot of concentration. Once I got the hang of the pattern and the pattern repeat, I didn't really need to look at the chart anymore, which surprised me. This is the first all over cabled pattern that I've made, especially being so many different types of cables, different twists. There's this like little triangle-y design in the front that's made with like just knits and pearls. It's not cables. It surprised me that I was able to get the hang of the pattern pretty quickly and not need to look at the chart every round or anything. So it wasn't easy in the sense, but I made surprisingly little mistakes for me. I'm a rather careless knitter, and I make quite a bit of mistakes. And sometimes I fix them, sometimes I don't. I expected to make a lot of mistakes with this. I expected this to be like a labor of love and cause me a lot of anguish. It simply did not. Like this was surprisingly easy for me to make. And it didn't even take like as long as I thought it would. I had a phenomenal time making this. I would love to make another one. I would love to make another one using like a wool, using like a nice yarn, because this is acrylic. It's not wool. So I would love to have like a really, really warm one to wear as like a base layer. I'm already like wanting to make more. I want to make more cabled patterns. This year I've learned about myself that I love a textured knit. I love working on them. I love wearing them. I love the finished result. I absolutely love a textured knit. So more textured knits to come in the future. I think that's all I have to say about this. That concludes, no, it does not conclude our finished objects, because, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so sad. Okay. It's not a finished object. It's a different type of FO. It is a failed object. Okay. Oh my God, this is so sad. I started these socks a while ago. Sorry. This is a pattern by Basic Sock and Light, pattern by Suzanne Muller, aka Paula Streaked. I knit these using Surella yarn in my Chiefs era, or the Super Bowl sock set, one of the two. I can't remember what it's called. This was a like one day only pre-order the day of the Super Bowl in Chiefs colors. Go Chiefs. So just a little recap. This was the first sock that I made. But as you can see, this is incredibly long. So I made this one too big. And I was like, all right, that's okay. I'm just getting into sock knitting, trying to enjoy sock knitting. I was like, I'll make another one. So I made this one that is the most well-fitting sock I have ever made. Of all the socks that I've ever made, this is one that fits the best. There, I feel like were still issues with it. I didn't love all of the ribbing at the top. It just kind of stretched out weird. It's toe up, so I feel like it was difficult to know when to start like decreases, and or when to start like working the heel. The heel is also what's it called? You use shadow wraps. Oh, this is what you use shadow wraps for. I don't necessarily love that. Anyways, so I made this. I liked it okay. I liked it enough to make a second one. Okay, so this is my second one. Okay, as you can see, I made the foot, I did the heel, and I was working on, I don't know, the ankle part of the sock. And I'm going through, starting to do the rib pattern all over, and I realize I have the wrong number of stitches. And I'm like, oh, well, knowing me, I probably messed up the shadow wraps at some point, and I added a stitch or removed a stitch. I then go back and I'm like, no, that's not what this seems like is happening. I go and I count the number of stitches that are in the like foot, and I had like 4 less stitches the entire time than what I needed. I think I just didn't work an extra thing of increases. So this whole sock was going to be like a full size smaller than this sock. So then I was like, at that point, I'm not making this sock 4 times, and I don't even like this one that much. So fail. It's like 3 strikes. You're out. Giving this pattern a break. Maybe I'll come back to it later. In addition, I talked about this in a podcast a while ago, when I first started making these. The pattern's really weird. It's like the increases and the centimeters, everything that's size specific is in a table, which is fine, except for the fact that the instructions for one size is written in the pattern. So if you're not paying attention and you don't go in and like write your own thing, your own personal increases and decreases, the instructions for your own size, you can just end up at some point making the wrong size. I found that incredibly confusing to work with, just because I obviously am careless, but I feel like that's not even like being careless. Like that's just like you write the instructions for one whole size and don't say like check. It's just, I found it very confusing. I worked patterns before where the instructions are in a table, or your number of increases, decreases, whatever are in a table. And but usually in the pattern, it's like, work X decreases for your size, and then you go down to the table and you find out what X is. Instead of just saying work 10 increases, but actually your size, you need to work 12 increases or 14 or whatever. I found it incredibly confusing, even when I would go back and write my own instructions for it. And even then, sometimes I would follow the wrong instructions. So I found that really confusing. I, at some point, will use this yarn to make some socks. At some point. I am going to give it a little bit of a break for now because I don't want to look at it. I want to get some of my sweaters done, and then maybe I'll come back to this yarn for socks at some point. So we'll see. So the last FO, failed object. I think I'm still just out here looking for like my go-to sock pattern, my perfect sock pattern. I've been really interested in the colorwork cuff socks by Summerly Knits. I've heard like a ton of people on YouTube talking about them, and that intrigues me because it's like a base sock pattern, then you can add designs on top that you want. I would love to find a go-to sock pattern and be able to tweak it for myself, and like just figure out my own number of stitches that I want in each place, and I just would love to find that and have that. So having like a go-to sock pattern and then being able to have different designs on top is really appealing. Again, that's a later problem. I think I'll revisit this in the spring because I just don't like looking at this right now. It just annoys me just looking at just like, why can't I figure out socks? Why can't I figure out socks? Now moving on to works of progress, I'll very quickly show you my penny gloves that I'm making for myself. Again, it's a one size pattern by Petite Knit. I'm using the same yarn and needle combination. Lana Arwetta. This is in the color Nougat Heather. This is left over from an Oslo hat I made for my boyfriend. Nougat Heather. And this is Knitting for All of Soft Silk Mohair in Plum Clay, I believe is the color. This is definitely not enough, but I don't even know what pattern this is, but this is a beret that I tried to make for myself at the very beginning of my knitting, and I wanted it to be like a heathered look. And I did not like the way the beret fit nor the way the yarn looked. and it has just been sitting in my stash for a while. So the rest of the whole skein of plum clay is in here, and I'm just going to unravel this to access the mohair when the time becomes right, which is not now. That's a later problem. But I love this combo. I love this combo. It's like a little purpley gray, like, I love this. I can't wait to have my own pair. Same needle size, same 2.5mm needles. Really nothing else to say about it. Great pattern. Can't believe I haven't made them before. Okay, and then my second whip, only 2 whips. I have my penny gloves for when I want to throw something in a bag and go, and then I have this that I work on. This, we have a lot done in this. This is the Dad's Sweater by Emily Curtis. I'm knitting this for my boyfriend's dad for Christmas this year. I'm using Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in Dark Moose. This is a 4mm needle. So this fabric is pretty dense. I did swatch before this, believe it or not. So this is the size 4 of the Dad's Sweater. This pattern is pretty fun. It has a broad shoulder version and then a like narrow shoulder version. So what the broad shoulder would be like a standard men's sizing, and a narrow shoulder would be like a standard women's sizing. So this is the broad shoulder one. I think it's broad shoulder. It's 2 different patterns that you download. So I actually haven't even downloaded the narrow shoulder one, but this has quite a bit of short row shaping for the sleeve. If you follow it up, like, that's like it has a lot of short row shaping. This is actually almost entirely all short row shaping. So it's pretty broad shouldered. And then I just love looking at this, all the sleeve decreases, the details. It's so satisfying to look at. I'm trucking along pretty nicely. I have this much left, and I believe I have like 5 more skeins left. So fingers crossed, should be set with yarn. Knock on wood. It's been rough out here lately. This pattern, this is my first pattern by Emily Curtis. It's written, it's not confusing. I haven't had any trouble following it. It's not confusing. It's just written in a really interesting way. How do I want to say this? It doesn't seem efficient. Efficient, that's the word. Any kind of shaping, you work increases at different intervals, right? To give it like a sort of like a gradual, more tapered look. Yeah, same with pretty much like any increases, like armholes, sleeves, anything. And normally it's you work X amount of increases or decreases at this interval, and then you work X amount of increases at this interval, and then X amount of increases at this interval. And that's it. She lists it out as like decrease sets. It'll be like, it's just really kind of like long-winded, and in my opinion, an inefficient way to write a pattern. It definitely it threw me off. It wasn't the normal way to write it, but it gets the point across, and it's not confusing. Overall, the pattern's been clear. It's been great. I like the way it looks so far. I think it's gonna fit. I hope it's not too big. Whatever, that's a later problem. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I love it. I love the way this fabric is. It's pretty dense. It's pretty stiff because this is a 4mm needle with a worsted weight yarn. So it's pretty, how can I show it to you? This is a sleeve. It's like pretty dense. It's just dense. That's the only way to describe it. So this is going to be a warm, thick sweater. I just started the second sleeve. I've got a whole sleeve to go. I don't really feel like I have that much of the body left. I mean, I have a lot of the body to go, but I worked a decent amount of the body before starting the sleeves. I always do that. I will always work like a good chunk of the body and then put my stitches on hold and then do the sleeves for 2 reasons. One, it's just nice to know when you're knitting the whole body that the amount of yarn you have left is all that is for the body. Makes it a lot easier to use up more of your yarn and not make it more cropped than you want it to be, because you're worried about having enough yarn for the sleeves and the neck and everything. And then second is you kind of get the sleeves out of the way instead of like finishing the body and the neck, and then you look and you're like, oh, I gotta do the sleeve. Like you do the sleeves and then it's like one big push to the end So that's why the body's not finished, but we're onto the sleeves. I actually, I've seen a couple of people do this recently. I think Good Knits does this, and Haley's Space, who are other like knitting YouTubers that two of my favorite channels. I love them. They will put a stitch marker in their whip so that the next time they talk about it on a podcast, they know it's like a reminder of how much they've done since the podcast. And then you have to be like, oh, I can't remember where I was when I stopped. So I put my stitch marker here on this sleeve so that the next time I record a podcast and talk about this, I can tell you exactly where I was. So thanks to them for innovation and good ideas. Like I'll definitely finish this by Christmas, and I'm really proud of myself for starting this like way in advance. So it's really, really been fun to make. Okay, that is it for finished objects and whips. And I have a lot of acquisitions. So we're going to go through those. Let's see. I have 2 yarn orders. Okay, now I'm ready to talk about it. I have my things. I ordered from Galt House of Yarn. It's where I buy most of my Filco Lana yarn. It ships from Canada. They have a lot of colors. And the shipping's great. I bought a decent amount of Filco Lana. I bought the camel Arwetta that I used for the Oslo hat, and then the mahogany that I used for the penny gloves. So I already talked about that. Those are technically acquisitions, but they've been used up. I also bought some Filco Lana Arwetta. This is the color, I want to say like blue jean or something. 726 is the color number. I bought 3 of these to make an Oslo hat for my friend that I'm staying with in January. I bought yarn to make her a cardigan, and I was going to make her fiance an Oslo hat as a thank you for letting me squat with them. So everybody gets an Oslo hat. If you let me stay with you, I'll give you an Oslo hat. Basically. So yeah, it's this really pretty like denim color. It's like a heathered navy with bits of gray in there. Gorgeous. Looks just like denim. Oh, I love this color. This is more Filco Lana Arwetta. This is the color 827, and I think it's like Dijon heather. It is this like gorgeous, like rich golden yellow with some bits of like a mustard color and then brown and a little bit of red in there. It is gorgeous. I bought this for myself. I think I bought 7 or 8 of them, maybe even 9, doesn't matter. I bought these to make the twist loop sweater for myself. I made the twist loop top for myself this summer, and I loved it. I loved making it. And so I was inspired to make the twist loop sweater. If you remember, you probably don't remember. I think only I remember. From my fall knitting plans video, I bought Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in caramel, which I do not have with me. I sent it back when my boyfriend came to visit and he flew back to his place. I sent him with I had him check a bag that was just all my stuff that I didn't want to haul back down, that I didn't want to pack my car with, and it was mostly yarn. So that went down with him. So I don't have it with me to show you what it's going to look like. But I wanted to use the yarn suggested in the pattern, which is onling yarn. It was 3 onling yarns held together. And I was waiting for one of them to come back in stock. I cannot remember because they're all numbered. I was waiting for one of them to come back in stock in the color that I wanted. And they just are like discontinuing that line of yarn, I'm pretty sure, because they're slowly decreasing all the colors and it's massively on sale. So when I saw that it wasn't going to come back, I was actually at that same time as when I was unwinding some projects and like unblocking the yarn. I was unwinding some Filco Lana Arwetta from a hat that I made for my boyfriend that was too big. I was feeling it and I was like, oh my God, this is actually like really, really soft compared to the Knitting for Olive merino that I was also unblocking. So I was comparing them directly. It's because this has some nylon in it, I believe. 80% wool, 20% nylon. So it's really soft. And I was like, oh, I should make myself a sweater with Filco Lana Arwetta, like at some point. That's in the future. And I was like, no, I bet I could make the twist loop sweater with Filco Lana Arwetta and mohair. So I bought some of this. I think it goes really well with the caramel that I bought. And I will start this at some point. I truly have no idea when. No idea. But that is my plan for this, and I'm so excited to make this and have this sweater. So love this. And then I also bought some sadness garn, tin silk mohair. I have never worked with any sadness garn before, and I mostly bought this because I am going to make the Winter Tales blanket shawl and sort of combine it with the Autumn Tales shawl, both patterns by Ozetta. So I wanted to make the shawl for my boyfriend's mother for Christmas. And so I bought Eastex Plotalope in black. And when I was going through my fall knitting plans video, I had a lot of people leave comments saying this is really itchy. You may not want to give this to somebody else before having them like double check. And they were like, or you could just hold it with mohair to make it a little softer. So I bought some black mohair to hold with this. Knitting for olive soft silk mohair is hands down my preferred mohair to use. I think for cost wise, they have beautiful colors and it is so soft. However, I wasn't going to do a knitting for olive order anytime soon, and I was already buying all this Focolana Arwetta from Galt House of Yarn, and they have some sadness garn on there. So I bought this tin silk mohair just so I could save shipping cost. It's not the softest mohair, but it's not the most unsoft mohair. I don't know. I bought a couple. I think I bought 4 of these, and then I have some leftover drops black mohair, drops kid silk mohair that I will just hold with this to make the shawl. This will be the next thing that I cast on. Once I finish the dad's sweater, this will be what I cast on. So stay tuned and you'll see this. So that is it for that. That yarn order was incredibly exciting because I started monetizing on my YouTube a couple of months ago. And once I got all of like the tax and like bank account stuff set up, I got my like first deposit from YouTube, and I used that money to buy this yarn, which was like so exciting. When I was like, oh, maybe I could monetize and maybe I could use my money from making videos to buy yarn. Since I'm a student, I don't make a ton of money. I don't make any money. So it was like so exciting when I ordered it, and it was just money from YouTube doing something that I enjoy. So if you've watched any of my videos and if you've made it this far, thank you for watching and helping me buy yarn. Truly the greatest gift you can give to a girl. So thank you. It was very exciting. I'm not doing this to make money. I don't think I'll ever make enough money from this to like live off of it, but it is nice to have this be my yarn money. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I don't even know if I should talk about this. This was like the most random thing. I was at Michael's buying my pound of love to finish the sweater. I only used like 50 grams of that pound of love to finish the sweater, which is crazy. But they were doing a buy one, get one 50% off sale. And so I bought this from Loops and Threads. It's more acrylic yarn, but I was like, if I have some free time if I have time before Christmas, I would love to make matching dog sweaters for my dog and my boyfriend's like 2 family dogs that are with his parents. I was like, how cute would that be if they had matching Christmas sweaters? So I bought this yarn. What is that pattern? There's a specific dog sweater pattern that I saw on Ravelry. It's free. And I knew it. I was like, it's something Scottish. It's the Edinburgh Seamless Dog Sweater by Calico Radio Knits. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it looks very cute. My dog does not like sweaters, so she's not a very knit-worthy person. But if I'm going to make matching sweaters, I'm going to make matching sweaters, and she's going to like it. So yeah, because the pound of love was like $12, I want to say. Acrylic yarn is just so cheap. There's no getting around it. The pound of love was like $12, and this originally was like $3. So it was $1.50 because of buy one, get one 50% off. And I was like, why not? I'll make some sweaters out of this. It's a really cute color. So acquisition. Okay. And now the most exciting thing. As you all know, I'm a big Swiftie. And I talked about this a couple podcasts ago, I want to say. I did order from Surella Yarns, the Eras Collection Part 2. I ordered yarn. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this. I've been doing like virtual residency interviews from here. And when I have my interviews, I have like my laptop set up, I have my water, my coffee, I have my iPad to take notes. And then for good vibes, I would set out my Taylor Swift yarn so that I would look at it and I would just get an instant mood boost. So let me show you what I got. Endlessly excited about these. This is Cruel Summer. This is Cruel Summer. This is the silk sock. It's so silky. I bought 2 of these. I love this. This is up there with one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. I love the color. It's so summery. It's so cute. I don't think this is going to be, like, this may not be the most flattering color on me, but I'm not going to care because I love this. There's so much fun pinks. There's peach. There's like turquoise. There's purple. It's perfect. It looks exactly like her Lover bodysuit, and I love it. Lover's my favorite album, so I had to buy something Lover themed. I actually, quite unlike me, I don't know what I'm going to make with this. I always, if you haven't noticed, I always buy yarn with a project in mind. I found when I first started knitting and I bought yarn without a project in mind, it would sit there. So I always like to have a project in mind when I buy yarn. And I don't have a specific project in mind. I think I want to make some kind of vest, but like an open and closed vest with the ties that can be like a summer top. I feel like those were really big last year. I want to make one, and I think this would be perfect for it. So I have 2 skeins. I think it'll be perfect. Actually, these are technically hanks, aren't they? Anyways, I have 2 of these. I have 200 grams of this. Is that how much? Yeah, I have 200 grams of this. It'll, I think, be more than enough. So that's my plan. This will be obviously next summer. I'm not going to make it in the winter, but this will just be really pretty to look at. Until then, I love it. Next, this is gorgeous. This is a gorgeous marigold color. This is Willow, and this is their classic bulky. It's a bulky yarn. It's so pretty. This was like my favorite, how do you say it? Not song, my favorite like number from the Eras tour. Because I went to the Eras tour, MetLife Night 1, in case anyone else was wondering. This was like my favorite song, my favorite performance of all of the songs that she did at the Eras tour. I loved the whole witchy vibes with like the orbs. It was so witchy. It was perfect. And this was like the exact color of the like fire that they were like dancing around with, the graphic. I felt like this really captured like that whole performance of the song. I love the song, but I loved that performance, and I saw this and I love the color. I was like, I have to purchase. I simply have to. My plans for this, I'm going to make a Erin Gallant sweater by Kadri. She has 3 or 4 different weights of this like Gallant sweater collection. And I think the Erin is the one that like this in theory meets gauge for. So I'm going to use this to make that. I previously have made the mohair Gallant sweater. Part of the reason that I bought this is it was one of the first things that I made, the mohair Gallant sweater. I don't have it with me. It's definitely in my storage unit. I made it within my first year of knitting. It was a pretty good sweater to learn things from. I used Drops Kid Silk Mohair held double in the color Curry. Separately, I just don't love Drops Kid Silk. We've talked about this. I find it really itchy. And so I had a whole sweater made with it, and I don't like the way it feels on me. And the color is a little too greenish. I don't know how to describe it. The color just does not look the best on me. Kind of washes me out. So I love this color. This is a great color. Maybe it's too bright for me. I don't care. So this is sort of my way of like redoing that sweater that I knit in the beginning and sort of making it more in my style, in my vibe now. So that is this. I think I bought Honestly, I have no idea how many I bought, but I measured out and I made 100% sure that I had slightly more than enough, a lot more than enough, because if I run out of this, what can I do? Nothing. And then probably my favorite one. Oh, the light came out. The sun came out just in time. This is Champagne Problems. Another one of my favorite songs. This also reminds me of the like the mossy piano that she plays when she sings this. This is gorgeous. It has bits of like kind of yellowy. It has little like brown bits mixed in. I don't know if you can see it. It's okay if you can't. This is the classic DK. I recently used this yarn to make Capital V Vest by Rosa Pomar, and I absolutely loved working with it. Every time I talked about it on my podcast, on like any video that I talked about it in, I kept talking about how much I loved the yarn. Like I loved the way this yarn worked up. I loved the way it felt. I'm going to make a Sadie sweater by Ozetta. I realized recently for whatever reason, I don't make a lot of sweaters for myself. The last sweater that I made for myself, I don't actually know when it was. I feel like I don't ever make a lot of sweaters for myself. A lot of the sweaters also that I've made for myself are like, have mohair, which to me makes them look kind of elevated. Like mohair gives a sweater an elevated look. Or they're very patterned, they're detailed or something. I don't know. I don't have a lot of like simple sweaters that I can just pull on with like leggings, jeans, shorts, if it's going to be like merino and in the summer. So I wanted to make some more like simple, I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't have a lot of staple sweaters in my closet, staple handmade sweaters in my closet. I have a lot of really good vests, gloves, hats. I have a lot of other good staple items. I don't have a lot of staple sweaters. Cardigans, set. Sweaters, for whatever reason, no. So I wanted this to be sort of like a staple sweater. I love Ozetta. She recently released this pattern, the Sadie sweater, a couple months ago. It's been under a year, and I saw it, and I was like, I need to have it. So I bought this. So excited about this. I'm hoping to cast this on at some point soon because I really want to start wearing it. Oh, and then last acquisition. I promise this is again from Sorella Yarn. This is their tote bag that they released with the Taylor Swift collection. It says in my crafting era, and I'm really glad I got it. I've been really into tote bags recently. I love bags. I've always been such a bag lady. I bought another bag this morning. Like I just love bags. So yeah, I bought that tote bag. I love it. So happy with my purchase. So happy with all of my purchases. Okay, so that's it for all the knitting. Yeah, usually I talk about my non-knitting interests after this. If you were only here for the knitting, please feel free to leave. I won't be mad. And thank you for watching all of this. I have no idea how long this is going to be after editing, but I feel like it's going to be a long one. So thank you. If you made it this far, thank you. And I will talk about my non-knitting interests. The other thing is I feel like it's been so long since I recorded a podcast. Like I feel like I usually record I try to record at least every 2 weeks to a month, and it's like it ends up being fresh in my mind, but we're at 6 weeks, I think. And I have no idea what I talked about last time, but time also passes weirdly. I took a trip last week, and I went to go do in-person interviews last week, and I was gone, and I just feel like time has been weird. But what I'm trying to say is Formula One. I was trying to remember what had happened with Formula One, and then I remembered we got the sad news that Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas will not be re-signed at Kick Sauber. That was honestly, it's not funny. It's kind of funny now. But if you're American and really into Formula One, or if you're into Formula One and world politics, you know that Kick Sauber announced that they would not be returning because they signed a rookie, which meant that Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas will not be returning. However, the news was announced the day after the US election. So I wake up on Wednesday morning, I roll over, I refresh the CNN, and I see the election results. And I'm quite sad. I'm quite in my feels. I had an interview that morning too, so I was like, you don't really have that much time to be sad. You got to pull yourself together. But I was like, damn, this sucks. I was really down And then I was like, well, let me open Instagram. Maybe someone's posted, I don't know, maybe someone's posted something normal on Instagram, and like maybe someone got engaged. Maybe it's like a cute thing. I went on my personal Instagram. I was like, maybe someone's posting funny tweets already. I open up my personal Instagram, sad about the election results, and I see that Joe Kwan Yu and Valtteri Bottas do not have seats next year. And it has just been announced. And I was like, are you serious? It was a rough day. It was a rough day to be an F1 liberal in America. It's such a bummer. It really was just like, it was double whammy. It was a double whammy of sadness that morning. And then I was like, well, and I took a shower and blow dried my hair and sat and interviewed for residency. And then then the interview ended, and I was just like sitting there like, oh, now I don't have anything to distract myself. Anyways, that was a bummer. I don't know. I feel like silly season's not really over yet. In theory, I feel like they're going to do some like musical chairs over at Red Bull and like switch around seats. But in theory, the silly season's like done. But I don't know. Oh, I have some books to talk about. I am in a book club with my college friends, and we recently read our book this month is called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. It was like a collection of short stories based around this sort of like time traveling cafe. It was a Japanese author. It was originally written in Japanese, and it was like a lot of Japanese books. It's magical realism, which is one of my favorite like genres. I love magical realism. So people can time travel, but there's like all these rules about when you can travel and where you go to and all these things like that. I mean, I enjoyed it. I love a collection of short stories. I feel like it always ends up being like sad, but also heartwarming, which was interesting. So definitely, I definitely had to take a break from it. I was on a rather like sad rotation. I was doing some ICU rotation, and ICU is sometimes like a really sad place to be. And so I would like, finish my day in the ICU, and I would get in the car and I would want to listen to a book, but I didn't really want to listen to a book that was going to make me more sad. It definitely was like a time and a place book for me, but I really enjoyed it. It was really short. I think it's a trilogy or like a series. I could see myself reading the rest of the books. I really enjoyed it. If you like magical realism and short stories and are looking for a quick read that's kind of like, that's heartwarming about, like human nature and people and like your relationships with people, it was really enjoyable. And then along that line, while we're talking about magical realism, I recently started reading Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. He's one of my favorite authors. My boyfriend introduced me to him. He loves Murakami books, and so I started reading Kafka on the Shore. I think I'm like a third of the way through it. I love it. It's an incredible book. If you like magical realism stuff, like it's a really good book. It's really interesting. Super weird, but I love that. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's like a good kind of fall wintry book to read. Yeah, very cozy. At the suggestion of one of my med school friends, who's also a Bravo girl, and at the suggestion of Amanda from Knits by Mandy, who I don't know in real life, but she was talking on one of her recent podcasts about the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which I obviously watched and enjoyed. And she was like, if you liked that, you should really watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And so I was like, all right, they convinced me. I've been convinced. So I started watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I fear that I love it. It is incredible. There's only like 5 or 6 seasons out. I was watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for a bit, but there's like 15 seasons at least. There's a lot of seasons. It's very overwhelming to start. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was a little bit more realistic to start out with. So I'm really enjoying it. It's crazy. It's just like normal Real Housewives, except it's in Salt Lake City. And I love it. So that's all there is to say about it. I just love reality TV. That's about it. And honestly, I think I've talked for a really long time and my voice is still annoying me. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. I appreciate it as always. And hopefully I won't wait so long before recording again, because this was honestly a lot to do. This was a lot for me. With that, I'll call it a day. And thank you as always for watching. And I will see you next time. Bye.